Hey, good morning. Welcome to Newswire. This is your host, Tyler Dickerhoof. Today, joined as usual by producer Alex. Alex is still in New Jersey watching out for drones. He got some snow, that beautiful reflective light coming in the back. Today, man, we are going to talk about the credit card debt that is overwhelming in the United States. $1.1 trillion. I know Alex is going to share some stats with us. Here's the thing that stuck out to me is over $10,000 per person in credit card debt. Now, that isn't how you manage it where you just use it, you turn it over. That is held credit card debt. Before we get there, just a reminder, the Impact Driven Leader Roundtable is open for applications. We get started the 1st of February because January is always crazy as people get into the new year. So we will get started. We meet once a week on Zoom. As well, the Impact Driven Leader Summit, May 7th and 8th in Spokane, Washington. We have some amazing speakers. Those that join the Roundtable get a VIP ticket to that event. So if you want to learn more about either one of those, go to theimpactdrivenleader.com and you can learn both about the event and being a part of the Roundtable. All right, Alex. Woo. Newswire today, credit card debt.
Yeah,
Let me ask you this before we get started.
Yeah.
Are you a credit card user? Are you not a user? Where do you sit in that boat?
I'm very simple. I have one credit card.
Okay.
I have very good credit, top triple platinum credit. So I've been very blessed to have that. And I do use it.
Wait. Time out there.
Time out.
You're blessed to have that, or you've done the work.
I've done the work. Credit. I've done the work.
It's not like it's one of those things. It's a random. Oh, you get good credit, and you get good credit, and you get a lump of coal. No, it doesn't work like that.
No, I know. Yeah, I've done a really good job to pat myself on the back.
Have you ever been sent to collections?
No,
I did once.
It happened.
I was in college. I was in college. I just didn't know, and I think what happened is I had moved and they couldn't find me. My mail didn't get, and so eventually got sent to collections. I'm like, what's the deal with this? And it was some medical clinic visit, paid it off. No big deal. I think my credit's been pretty much somewhere, depending on what we're doing, between 750 and 815, whatever.
Yeah.
That's
really good.
All right.
That's really good.
So you use credit cards. You have one credit card.
I have one credit card. I believe my wife also. We have the flyer, for United, a United credit card for flying
because she flies a lot.
Yeah, she flies a lot. I fly probably not as much as her, but we both fly a decent amount. And then we have that one, so it's but I do use it for groceries and all that kind of stuff to earn points, and then we just pay it off each month. So it's kind of utilized in that respect. If you read these articles, it really is the bottom 1/3 of Americans that, if you read.
Whoa, wait a second. When you describe bottom 1/3,
it's saying
the lower 1/3 income earners.
The lower 1/3 income earners.
I think that clarification is necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. The lower 1/3 of income earners are the ones who are really getting decimated by this credit card debt. And it all kind of started, if you read deeper, with COVID. There was a lot of money being printed during this time, a lot of free money.
Well, one of the trends that happened during COVID, though, was the first time it had happened since 2008 is credit card debt went down.
Right. Because
we took off, I want to say 15 to 20% of our consumer held credit card debt during COVID.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Which is, it's great. And I don't know if, because some of that was forgiven or that money was used to. So
I have a friend that works in credit card processing. And one of the things he talked about is people were doing less transactions. And so if they were getting paid, they were able to pay down on that. They were kind of like, oh, we don't, just let's get this paid off. But as well, people that got the PPP money or the stimulus money, the prudent ones at first paid off debt. And then all of a sudden, I think we came into that next turn of is I've been oppressed. I need to spend.
Right. Right. You had these contingencies, right, of probably the smart money, smart people doing the right thing, which is let's pay off all this credit card debt. We got a chance here. And then maybe when some of that was actually paid and there was extra money, or there was a group of people maybe who didn't have debt, or was like, yeah, let's buy some stuff, cars.
Yeah.
Remember the cars now are like, you can't give them away. I feel like they're totally.
I mean, and they were, well, because everything's shut down and, just, getting cars and replacing cars, whatever, it was difficult. Here's the couple things one of the things that I'm reading, and this comes from Inc. magazine's credit card debts and defaults rise and worrying sign for economy. The kind of line here is financial service businesses have written off 50% more overdue credit card debts in the past year after exhausted household savings fueled consumer use of plastic. I think one of the things that we're dealing with in our society, and I don't have the stats here, but just what I've researched in the past, is this is really a directive by two generations. It's the Gen X and millennial. I see my own kids who are, Gen Z Gen Z, and very prudent. I mean, they like to go thrifting. They like discounted goods. They do those things. Now, they'll spend money in different ways than maybe some of the rest of us, more experiences. They food to them is more of an experience. So like to go to a coffee shop, those things that maybe in the past have been viewed as, oh, that's extras. To them, that's normal life. Whereas if you wanted to go buy, a new wardrobe, those things that would be necessity for work, and, they would be like, no, I'll just go thrift. Like I'm cool with, not doing that stuff. And so the differences there are interesting. But as we look, a lot of the credit card debt that's, is not held by the younger generations. It is in that more, this is my lifestyle holding. And I think that's what's most concerning is when people choose to, hey, I have to maintain my lifestyle. I'm going to continue this spending, as opposed to I need to change my lifestyle. Either I make more money and look for options there, or we cut.
Well, something that you mentioned earlier in the conversation, I think right in your intro, was like this increase in defaults.
Yeah.
Has jumped to 46 billion in the first months of last year in 2024, which is the highest since 2010, just a couple years following the great financial crisis, which is up 50% year over year. Does that concern you? Like this giant 50% increase?
Yeah, I did mention this in my open is, the reality is there's two ways to go about finances. We have people like Dave Ramsey. Hey, cut. Mm-hmm. Dave, why don't you tell people to go get a better job? Why don't you tell people to go make more money? Why don't you tell people to say, hey, if you're working in an 8-hour job, go work 4 more hours doing something, whether it's a side business, a side hustle. We got involved in network marketing. That's a great way to do it. So I think there's a plus and minus there. There is the fact that, our lifestyle costs more now. We have inflation. We have all of this inflationary raise. And for people with a static income, or their income hasn't risen to the extent that expenses have, you have two options. You can start to cut away and do without, or, hey, we need to go find ways to make more money. I go back to my history in my previous career when I was a nutritionist for dairy cows. And I had a client tell me this one day. He goes, if it makes sense as far as a business investment, if it makes sense when you're making money, then it better make sense when you're losing money. And if it makes sense when you're losing money, it's going to make sense when you're making money. And, agriculture is one of those businesses for depending on the specific, cows, dairy, beef, trees, whatever, is you don't always make money. It's a commodity that ebbs and flows in prices. There are months, there are years where you're doing the same job and you're getting paid less and you're losing money.
Yeah.
And it takes a a financial acumen, and you have to say, all right, does it continue to make sense? And, the worst thing that people could do is you start cutting, you say, oh, I don't have money, so I'm going to start eating poor quality food.
Right.
That's not the solution, because you're going to end up health challenges. You're possibly going to gain weight. You're not going to have as much energy. That's not the solution. It's saying, all right, what do I need to do? I don't need the extras. I don't need the Twinkies, and I don't need the extra batch of cookies. I don't probably need the ice cream. But hey, if it's a healthy quality, source of protein,
Organic.
if it's, those things, hey, you know what? It is worth it. And take care of yourself. Now let's go look at options to say, how can we reduce our debt cost?
Right.
And or what can we do to go make some extra money? Because there's so many options to make money today that I think people are, when there's too many options, you're like, you go to Cheesecake Factory, you don't know what to order. Just make your life in and out. Like, just go in and out. Just simplify. But
so I just watched again The Big Short.
Good movie,
great movie, excellent movie. And Tyler, last year we talked a lot about job cuts. There were a lot of job cuts in 2024. I don't know if they'll continue. I mean, we'll see. We have a new Trump's coming into office, new regime. He wants to bring everything back into America. So I think that's a tailwind, for in the positive direction. But you see all these job cuts happening. You see credit card defaults up 55% year over year. Housing is extremely expensive. Food costs are expensive. I get nervous about the economy, and if the bottom 1/3 of income earners are the ones suffering, and if some of those are the jobs that are being lost, what happens to mortgages? Do they start defaulting on mortgages? What if more jobs are cut? Like, where does this all go?
Well, I mean, I'm going to lump two things into one here. Is one that, a lot of times people utilize credit card debt because maybe they're upside down on their home. One of the great things now, most home values are at or above what people have purchased them at. So use a home equity line. Go from a 22 to 24% interest rate down to a 7. Most people don't know how to arbitrage it. Or, for example, say, for example, you have a mortgage, you have some credit card debt. Go through the point of, even if you're leaving a 2% interest rate on your mortgage, go to a 7 so you can consolidate all of that. So it slows down, the amount of cash flow that you're outlaying for that debt payment. And one of the things that I learned this in business. Go get credit before you ever need it. You don't have to use it. You don't have to use a credit card to have it available, but you never know. You don't have to go get a home equity line unless when you need it is the worst time to try to go get it, because then you're desperate. And a lot of times bankers are like, hey, you got laid off. I'm not touching that because defaults are possible. So be proactive there. The other thing that I would recommend to people through this process is, understanding that, it doesn't always go up. My oldest son right now is learning to day trade. He has a buddy who day trades. I think I mentioned this last week to you. And, he kind of is in this period. He thinks he can't help but make money. Like, everyone that invests makes money. That's his viewpoint. It's like, all right, I could tell him that's not the way, or it's like, all right, maybe that works for you. Or, quite possibly the market's going to go down. We saw a 25% run up over the last 12 months, 13 months, 14 months, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not going to go up forever. I believe, and I've shared this with you, I've thought this for well over a couple years now. I don't think it's going to be banks, institutions that lead the financial fallout. I think it's going to be the consumer side. It's going to be the personal debt side, where you're going to see more credit card defaults. You're going to see, more of collections. You're going to see those things happening. And it's the individuals or the organizations that teetered on the line that are going to be the ones that be wary of. And you can choose to be scared of that, or you can say, hey, that's the way it goes. Is your financial house in order? Can you withstand? Have you done you can have debt and withstand, fallout as far as if you limit your cash flow, you manage it properly, you have proper equity, you look at how can I make a little extra money? What things could I sell that I no longer use? How can I do those things in order to kind of make it through? Because everything that goes up comes down, and it doesn't stay down forever. So
Tyler, what advice for someone, because credit cards are, I remember you get out of college, you don't have a whole lot of money, you don't have a great job, and credit cards are like the best thing. It's like, oh, I can spend a little, I can go to the bar or the restaurant or do this with my friends. And I know some people that just stack these things up and have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 credit cards. I go, that's insane to me. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are in that situation. What would your advice be to somebody who's dug themselves into a hole with these credit cards? They're really looking for some help in terms of how to get out of it if they're in $40,000 in credit card debt.
Yeah. I think let me share this. When I graduated college, I had $20. I had maxed out credit card. I had $20 to my name to fill up my Toyota Camry to drive back to Ohio. And then over the next month, I had to try to find a way to make money so I could pay for fuel to drive all the way to California, and was just waiting for that first paycheck so I could start paying off some of that debt. So I've been there. Now, part of how did I get there is it was a little bit of I spent a lot of money when I lived in New Zealand and studied abroad. And so that happened my sophomore year, and I just hadn't caught up. But I also knew, okay, I'm just going to manage through this. Good, right, or indifferent. But one of the things that I first did is I just started paying it off. I didn't go out and buy a brand new vehicle. I didn't go do the things once I had a job. I just started snowballing. And the snowball is find the highest interest rate one that you have and pay off as much as you can a month. And just start to snowball. Dave Ramsey talks about this. Other financial institutions talk about it. I think the biggest thing here that I want to impress is if you're scared of it, you're not going to have a good relationship with it. Right. And it's either going to overwhelm you or you're not going to take advantage of it. Credit cards, I'm not scared of. Much like you, for I would say the last 20 years, my wife and I, we have paid it off every single month. Now, we manage other things. We have home equity lines. We have business lines. We have those things to manage some of our recurring debt, this and that. But we don't use credit cards because we know they're the highest interest rate possible. So just don't use them. Other than, man, we use them for the rewards. The amount of, travel, the trips. I learned people that have businesses. So again, going back to my dairy background, guys that had multi-million-dollar, per month budgets that were putting everything on a credit card. Why? Because they would pay for their vacations every year by their reward points. Yeah. They knew those were business expenses. They had to pay them off. They were going to pay them off. But it was also, this is one of the things. If I spend something today, I'm going to pay it off at the next cycle for the credit card, which is, say, February 5th. Today's January 5th. It could be 30 days from now. I get to use that money for 30 days for free. Now, I'm very diligent. I paid it off, but it's just being smart there where I can figure out how to use the money. Now, I have to pay to have that credit card. So I pay, couple $100 a year, but I get to use their money for 30 days because I know every single month I'm going to pay it off. Right. Every single month I'm paying it off. And so that's where I'm not afraid of it because I know how to utilize the tool. And my encouragement to you is those that are maybe in that spot, snowball it. Yeah. Get to where you're every single month, it's paid off, manage your cash flow accordingly, look at ways to make some extra money, whether it's selling things you have, go look at a side job, whether it's, things like network marketing, whether it's, like to know it, whether it's Amazon sales, whether it is, Fiverr, any of those things, go look at ways to make a little extra money you can control the time so you can help snowball that. And then as well, again, I just can't reiterate this enough, is don't be afraid of it. use it as a tool. And I believe the people that are, kind of more afraid, they put their head in the sand, are the ones that usually end up in trouble.
I mean, does it, I guess, concern you though? Not you personally, but like as a global, not a global, but as the U.S. economy as a whole, when you see a 50% increase year over year in defaults, in 1 trillion in credit card, owed in credit card debt, like what does that signal to you? What does that like tell you when you start reading about these things?
So I'm not a doomsdayer. That doesn't
Right.
fear
You're
me.
not.
Why? Because I look at it, hey, are we managing our expenses, our cash flow, those things? Yeah, I believe we are. Could we do be better? Yeah, I think everyone could do better.
Yeah.
At the same point, I know this, based upon my experience, is there is no always up and to the right.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
going to correct. And so if you are blind and think it's never going to happen, you're the one that's going to get absolutely decimated. If you know it's going to happen, and if you have a business that can, there are people that make more money in down markets
Right.
than people that make money in up markets. I know this too, based upon what happened in 08 through 10. And, you look back at the greatest innovation comes in down markets.
Yeah.
The greatest innovation comes when people have to, man, how do we make this work? And so is it a little painful? Sure, it's going to be difficult, but man, I'd much rather know that, yeah, do we have some defaults coming? Do we have those things? Well, do you have options? I have options. Other people have options for people to learn and grow and do better. Absolutely. Here's a way to help people. At the same point, I know if we want our cost structure to come back in line, it's going to take some restructuring. So I'm not scared of that. And it's just, all right, am I smart? Am I smart enough to learn from the last time it did and use that going forward? And can I say that I absolutely? No, but I hope I am.
Yeah. For Americans, like how can they prepare for an economic downturn? I know everyone's there's like euphoria right now, right? We have a new president coming in. Everyone's really hopeful. And, we could see some things turn around. But like you said, it's kind of weird. As much as people hated this last administration and its performance, you had a stock market that was up 22%. We'll probably get some more tailwinds, but there's a lot of global wars happening. Ukraine, Israel, Syria, things happening across the globe that scares me, in a lot of ways. And then you had, significant job cuts. You have these credit card defaults, and it's like kind of like, I think there's going to be this, upper rush of excitement coming in this year, and then some sort of economic collapse of some nature, whether it is an external force, global world war. I don't know. I hope not. I pray not. But how do you prepare, for something like that? How do you prepare for these economic downturns? Some that you can't see.
I believe, one thing is, and I learned this in business, cash flow is king. Managing your cash flow. Managing, one of the things that, has happened to people, and I get it and I understand it. There's this fear of debt because we don't know how to manage it. Debt is one of those things, like, is it the way we're living, or are we using it as a tool? If it's a tool, leverage it. And, if you're afraid of it, and one of the things that happened to us is that, go back into 07, 08, it's like, man, we were paying double on our mortgage. We're going to pay that thing off. We're going to pay that thing off. Dumbest thing we ever did. Because it left us with no cash. Okay. So if we would have paid that accordingly, how much money would we have saved? Well, we only lived in our house for 4 years. We owned it for 10. Mortgage interest is a tax tool. You get to write it off. So you can choose to, hey, I'm going to pay it off, and then I'm going to be cash poor. I'm not going to have any cash, or I'm going to put money in savings. I'm going to get rid of all my credit card debt. I'm going to, utilize my mortgage or homeowner line, those things. Those are tools that I would be expressing people. Hey, make sure you utilize this next 12 months because of those ups and downs, and utilize the tools. Don't default, stay ahead of yourself. Look for ways to make extra money and look for investments rather than, hey, we're going to you just be afraid of debt paid off. And there's very much if you can't service your debt, you don't have the cash flow. It doesn't matter how much money you can make. You can make $100 million a year, but if you don't have enough, cash coming in each month to cover all of your debts, you're just as broke as the homeless guy sitting down on the corner. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
and so
sorry, go ahead. I was going to say,
no, keep going.
I was going to say to your point though, like, I think it's Jim Carrey. Someone famous said this, and I think it might have been Jim Carrey. It's like living under your means, like taking a year or two where, there is this, I do think culturally, this keeping up with the Joneses mentality. You see it on social media and the private jets and the watches and the shoes and the this and
it's not my thing. I know it's not your thing, but no, if you're watching, it's your thing. Good for you. It's just not ours.
Yeah, it's not. And I do think I had my cousin, successful businessman, was just telling me about a friend of his that just him and his wife live off of credit cards and they live in this very wealthy community, and to keep up with all the people that have been moving in and athletes and superstars and all this shit. And they're just like in massive, like millions of dollars in debt because they want to buy these things instead of like, you make good money, be smart about, what you're buying and what you're spending it on, and maybe live a little less than what you earn.
I think part of that, and we talked about this last week, I think in a conversation is learn how to utilize the tools.
Yeah.
And I think that's imperative through all of this is, we can sit here and be like, oh my goodness, the sky is falling. It's like, no, I think the indication of these defaults are people aren't aware how to use the tools, and or what you just said is we've lived through this period of I feel owed. I should be able to go to a Jets game. I'm going to be in the suite and I'm going to look over at Gary Vee or wherever he's at. I don't think Gary sits in it. I don't see him as a suite guy. Yeah, he's not that guy. He's like, because a little bit, have you ever seen Gary's private jet? No.
Never.
Does he probably have one? Yes. Does he flaunt it? No. Dude shows up in just a t-shirt and Vans and does his thing and doesn't care. And I think there's, hey, if that's, obviously if you're watching, that's not me. Yeah. But I think it's utilize these tools, understand the opportunities, and don't be afraid. Fear drives us to make really, really bad decisions. Mm-hmm. And part of mitigating fear, and it's funny, it's my word of the year. And it hit me a couple of days ago, and it's I don't know what it is about, but it's prepare. That's my word of the year, prepare. And, part of that is, hey, Tyler, are you doing enough preparation for the stuff you have? Doing this, the podcast I have later today, the podcast we have later in the week, the conversations, the roundtable, the speaking events, the book, all this. Are you doing the things to prepare? But it's also speaking here and say, hey, just prepare. Ryan Hawk, one of my previous podcast guests, shared the best medicine for fear is preparation. Yeah. Now, does that a doomsayer? No, just be smart and say, hey, how do you manage this? What do you need to do to prepare? If you prepare, then when all of a sudden those situations happen, it's like, well, I have options. I have directions. Do I know all the answers? No. But the more prepared I am, the more able I am to, act in that time. And so am I concerned about the credit? No. But here's also one of the other things. Again, it's one of our businesses. Man, network marketing thrives when the economy tanks. Yeah. Partly what I said earlier is people are looking for options. And I can say I would not be the person today I am if I hadn't gone through that experience back in 2011 when we were, just willing to look for other options because we were trying to do things. Man, it has served me and thousands and hundreds of thousands of other people. And I think the great thing is we're going to see a resurgence of that. Why? Because it's a way for people to earn money, learn tools and, skill sets that can take them to anything else.
Yeah.
A lot of the real estate agents that have had tremendous success the last 5 to 7 years, I know firsthand, they learned all those skills in network marketing. And it goes back and forth. It's kind of interesting. But
No, but
yeah,
just going off preparation. I mean, so much. Just think about football. When you would prepare and you'd watch the film and you'd practice hard and you really studied, knew all your plays, knew what the offense of the other team was doing. From if I played defense,
yeah,
it allowed you to. You were so well informed about what to expect and you knew what to do. It actually allowed you to play a little more free.
yeah,
You studied so well, you had this preparation. And I think that, one of the mistakes in like a previous bull run that I didn't make was like that preparation of like, all right, this is what could happen. These are all the scenarios that could unfold. This is what I need to do to, maybe pull back and take something out of the market because, things can go down. And I think that you're absolutely right. Like being prepared of like all the different things that could happen and just having that knowledge and doing the research now so that you're ready, just allows you to play a little more free.
Yeah. It's why I'm excited for my son to get involved. And yeah, if the market goes down, it's like, hey, buddy, you can make money when the market's going down too. And, I'd much rather him learn it at 16 rather than 26 with, a fan, whatever. I was like, hey, dude, I know how much money you have. You're not going to go, too far in the hole. So you know what? Go learn.
Yeah.
I hope you have tremendous success, but I also know it's going to teach you valuable lessons from now and forward. So any final words, Alex?
No, just don't get in credit card debt.
Yeah, I mean, and if you find yourself, hey, manage through it. There's tools to manage through it. It is, look at lower consolidation loans, all those things, get into a healthier cash flow place where you can manage it. You can look for ways to diversify, make more money. Thank you for watching today. Remember to hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube and the bell to notify. If you're here on LinkedIn, I would love to know. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up, if you manage your credit cards, you pay them off monthly and utilize the rewards. Thumbs down if you're living in that. Hey, it's just minimum payment, minimum payment, minimum payment. I know, hey, I've been there. I mentioned that earlier, but I'd love to know just from a perspective from each of you watching. Till next time, choose to lead with impact.